Welcome to the deep dive. We dig into the sources so you get the key insights fast.
And today, we have a really fascinating personal journey. It's quite unique.
Definitely. It weaves together something you don't often see paired. The super rigorous logic of mathematics and profound spiritual discovery.
Exactly. We're exploring the story of Dr. Jeffrey Lang. He's an American math professor, spent a decade as a committed atheist, and then had this pretty remarkable conversion to Islam.
So our mission here is to unpack that path, right? His intellectual journey, his spiritual one, the insights he gained.
And also his impact, on how faith and reason can potentially coexist. We're drawing on his own writings, personal accounts, different sources to really get the core of his experience.
Okay, let's dive in. Starting at the beginning. Dr. Lang, born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, grew up in a Roman Catholic family.
And even as a kid, apparently he had this really inquisitive mind. The sources mention this anecdote.
Oh, the one with his dad and the dog.
Yeah, exactly. Walking the dog. And young Jeffrey just asks, "Dad, do you believe in heaven?"
Shows that kind of questioning mind early on. Always needing to scrutinize things logically.
Totally. And that really sets the stage. It's probably not surprising he was drawn to mathematics,
Yeah.
a field that, demands logic, concrete answers.
Right. So as he got older, senior years in high school, a Catholic school even?
Notre Dame Boys High, yeah. His analytical mind started developing these, rational objections to the idea of a supreme being.
And he started pushing back against institutions, the church.
He did. He rebelled. And by 18, he considered himself a full-fledged atheist.
And that lasted quite a while.
10 years. Right through undergrad, his graduate studies, getting his doctorate, a whole decade of atheism.
And that classic question about suffering must have really resonated with him then. If God is all-merciful, all-loving, why is there suffering?
Oh, absolutely. It tormented him. And for Lang, it wasn't just some abstract philosophical puzzle.
Because of his home life.
Yeah, his personal experience made it very real. He described his home life as hell. His father was alcoholic, abusive.
That sounds incredibly difficult.
It was. Tearing up the house, physical and emotional abuse towards Lang, his brothers, their mother. So that personal weight of suffering, it heavily fueled his atheism. The problem of evil wasn't theoretical for him at all.
That makes sense. But what's really striking is even during this time committed atheist, dealing with all that this recurring dream started happening.
Right, multiple times over that decade. It's quite specific too.
But what are the details? What did he see?
He described this tiny room, basically unfurnished, grayish-white walls. The main feature was this carpet, patterned mostly red and white,
Okay.
and a small window, like a basement window, but it was flooding the room with brilliant light. And in the room, only men, no women.
Sitting how?
Sitting in rows, on their heels, facing that window. Lang felt he was in the third row.
Huh?
They would all bow down together, uniformly, faces to the floor. Very serene, quiet. Then they'd sit back up, and there was someone leading them. In the front, kind of off to the left, below the window, standing alone.
What did this leader look like?
Wearing a long white gown and a white scarf that had a red design on it.
And how did he feel when he woke up from this? Confused. Disturbed.
Strangely comfortable, actually. That's how he put it. But he couldn't make any sense of it, especially since it kept repeating. It was just this enigma.
So fast forward 10 years, he's a decade into his atheism. How does this intellectual mathematician even start to encounter a spiritual path?
Well, the turning point came when he was a young math lecturer, University of San Francisco.
Okay.
He met a Muslim student there, Mahmoud Quandil. And Quandil apparently made quite an impression.
How so?
The sources say Quandil looked regal. He answered some question about medical research very confidently, perfect English, just seemed very self-assured, well-known on campus.
Interesting. But their first conversations weren't about religion, right?
No, not at all initially.
Yeah.
A friendship just developed between Lang and Quandil's family. It was only later, actually, that someone in the family gave him a copy of the Quran.
Even though he wasn't looking for a religion.
Far from it. And he admitted he started reading it with a really strong prejudice against it.
So you have this analytical mind, steeped in atheism for a decade, confronting this text. What happened? Must have been an intellectual battle.
He described it so intensely. He said, you cannot simply read the Quran, not if you take it seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, you either have surrendered to it already or you fight it. He felt it attacked him tenaciously, directly, personally. Said it debates, criticizes, shames, challenges.
So a real confrontation.
Absolutely. He said, from the outset it draws the line of battle, and I was on the other side. No passive reading experience for him.
That description alone is powerful, but then it gets even more unexpected. He felt like he was at a severe disadvantage. Why?
Because, and this is his own description, he felt the author knew me better than I knew myself.
What did that feel like in practice? How did that manifest?
It was uncanny. He'd spend his nights formulating questions, objections, picking things apart logically.
As you'd expect a mathematician to do.
Right. But then, the next day, he'd continue reading, and he'd find the answers to those very questions. Almost like the Quran was anticipating his exact line of thought.
Whoa.
Yeah. He said, the Quran was always way ahead of my thinking. It was erasing barriers I had built years ago and was addressing my queries.
So it felt like he was losing the argument.
Exactly. He described it as losing the battle, feeling like he was being led into a corner that contained only one choice. It was this profound intellectual wrestling match, and he felt he was just irrevocably losing ground.
That intellectual struggle, that personal wrestling, it culminates sometime in the early 1980s. He decides to surrender.
He does, but he describes it as a real struggle just to find the courage. He found this small prayer place run by students actually in the basement of a church at the university.
In a church basement.
Yeah. He went there, spent a few hours, and then he declared the Shahada.
Which is the Muslim declaration of faith.
Right. Basically saying, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. A proclamation of a new life, essentially.
A huge moment. But what happened right after is maybe even more astonishing.
It really is. It was time for the afternoon prayer, the Salah, and they invited him to join.
His first prayer as a Muslim?
His first prayer. So he stands in the rows with the other students. There's a prayer leader named Ghassan. He follows along, bows down in prostration. His face is on this distinctive red and white carpet.
The same carpet from the dream.
Well, wait for it. He's experiencing the serenity, the quiet he remembered from the dream. Then he sits back up on his heels, and he looks ahead.
Oh.
And he sees Ghassan, the prayer leader, exactly as he appeared in that recurring dream.
No way.
Yes. Off to his left, in the middle, standing below the window that was flooding the room with light. Alone. Wearing a long white gown and a white scarf with a red design.
The dream manifested right there.
Precisely. Lang said he internally screamed, "The dream! The dream, exactly." He was stunned, frightened, wondering if he was still dreaming.
I can only imagine.
He felt this rush of cold and a gentle warmth. Tears started welling up, and this profound realization just hit him. My God, this is real.
Wow. And that connects back to what his father said to him years before.
It does. When Lang was 18, dismissing religion, his father had told him, God will bring you to your knees, Jeffrey.
And 10 years later.
10 years later, there he was, his forehead containing all his knowledge, his intellect, his atheism, literally on the ground in submission. It's an incredibly powerful image.
Absolutely stunning convergence. So, okay, for this man of reason, this former atheist mathematician, what was it about Islam specifically that clicked with his logical mind?
Well, Lang really felt Islam resonated deeply with that side of him. He concluded that Islam, quote, appeals to man's reasoning.
As opposed
to religions that might, primarily require acceptance just based on faith. His mind, used to the concrete answers of math, struggled with concepts that didn't have that logical underpinning.
So Islam's emphasis on reason was key for him.
Hugely compelling. It's fascinating, right? His scientific training demands evidence, logical consistency. And he found a kind of spiritual counterpart in a faith tradition that actually has this strong history of rational inquiry, especially during his own golden ages.
That's a really important point. It wasn't just a personal feeling. It connects to a real thread within Islamic thought itself.
Exactly. And looking at the Quran analytically, how did he break down its content?
Well, connecting it to that bigger picture, his analysis was interesting. He noted only about, 3% of the verses are direct divine commands or prohibitions?
Just 3%.
Yeah. The other 97%, he found, focuses on ethics, the relationship between God and humanity, the purpose of life, morality, history.
And critically, the importance of using reason in faith, even encouraging self-critical thinking.
Which must have appealed directly to his background. It shows how a text, often seen as rigid, can, through an intellectual lens, open up this huge landscape for philosophical and ethical exploration.
Definitely. So what about that big question from his childhood, suffering? How did his new faith address that profound dilemma that fueled his atheism?
Well, his perspective shifted. He learned that suffering actually plays a major role in life.
Yeah.
And that believers can grow closer to God through it.
So not just a problem to be solved, but something with a purpose.
Kind of. He found the Quran stresses reason, intelligence, spiritual growth. And the idea of free will becomes crucial for understanding things like forgiveness, compassion, virtues that maybe only make sense in a world with suffering.
So it reframes suffering, not a divine oversight, but maybe an integral part of the human experience, potentially leading to deeper spiritual growth.
Exactly. And he also spoke about realizing something about God's unremitting love. How did that change things for him personally?
That seemed to be a profound transformation. He perceived God as always near, like directing his life, creating circumstances, opportunities, but crucially, always leaving the vital choices up to him.
So guidance, but not coercion.
Right. And he was just awestruck by the intimacy and love he felt was available simply by turning to God. He described it as a love that restored him, made him capable of feeling love himself.
That's powerful, especially given his earlier feelings about his life.
Yeah, he once said he only wanted his life to be long-forgotten soil underneath an unmarked grave. So this realization was transformative. It shows how that intellectual ascent, that losing the battle, could lead to really deep emotional and spiritual healing.
Incredibly moving. And you see this filter down into how he approached faith with his own family. There's that anecdote about his daughter, right?
Yes, his daughter Jamila, she was 8 and asked him, "Daddy, why do we pray?" Such a fundamental question.
How did he answer that? For a child.
He used this beautiful analogy. He said, God is the source of all love, kindness, wisdom, like the sun is the source of light. And prayer, he told her, lets you feel God's love in a very special way, in the most powerful way. He compared it to getting a hug from your parents. It makes their love feel real, tangible.
That's a lovely way to put it.
And he genuinely believed prayer made him a better father. It reminded him that his family was this precious gift.
Professionally, he didn't stop being a mathematician, right? He continued teaching.
That's right. He carried on as an associate professor of mathematics at the University of Kansas. Still teaches there today, actually, and gets high ratings from students.
But he also took on roles within the Muslim community.
He did. He became a faculty advisor for the Muslim Student Association, played a big role helping students adjust to American culture, navigate university life.
And clarifying misconceptions about Islam, too, presumably.
Exactly. Bridging those cultural gaps, helping people understand the faith in a Western context.
And he put his thoughts and experiences into writing, became quite an influential author.
Definitely. His key books, Struggling to Surrender in '94, then Even Angels Ask in '97.
And then Losing My Religion in 2004. That one sounds like it might have marked a shift, maybe more critical.
It definitely marked a shift. It's a crucial part of his work. In Losing My Religion, he wrote as what he called a lay theologian.
Okay.
And he directly tackled the alienation experienced by young Muslims and converts. He pointed fingers, really, at what he saw as the traditional and conservative forms of Islam presented by the immigrant-dominated mosque culture.
So he felt there was a disconnect.
A major one. He argued that many Western Muslims struggle to separate Islam's essential teachings from the cultural norms of immigrants' home countries.
Which led to narrow interpretations dominating the mosques.
That was his argument. And he felt this exaggerated the differences between Islamic teachings and Western culture, making it hard for younger generations, or converts like himself, to feel fully integrated, religiously satisfied, and participate actively in Western society.
That's a pretty direct challenge to the community he'd embraced.
It was a really forceful wake-up call. He saw this situation as a serious threat to Islam's survival and growth in North America.
So what did he propose?
He advocated for a reconstruction, a rethinking of Islamic theology, ethics, law, to keep it relevant and meet the changing spiritual and psychological needs of Muslims in the West.
So more about asking the hard questions than providing all the answers.
Exactly. The book's significance, many feel, lies more in the questions it raises. He was pointing to what he saw as the inadequacy of the entire body of modern Muslim scholarship to address these contemporary issues. It really speaks to his intellectual honesty, continuing to question and challenge even after finding his faith.
It's interesting then to think about his public presence now. He's still teaching at KU. Students rate him highly as recently as 2023, but less public speaking.
Yeah, discussions online, like on Reddit, mention that he seems less visible publicly. There are some hints, maybe regrets about being on the public stage.
And some allegations.
Allegations, yes, that he faced pushback, that he was hounded and mistreated by some Muslims because of his views described as very liberal views on freedom of religion, and obviously his critiques of the community itself.
Important to note, those are allegations from online discussions, just part of the source material we reviewed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just reporting what's out there in the discussions.
Yeah.
But despite that, it seems clear he remains a really significant inspiration for many. His earlier insights, his journey, they still resonate and get shared, especially by Muslims navigating similar questions about faith in modern life.
Dr. Jeffrey Lang's story, it really is a powerful testament, isn't it? That deep intellectual rigor and a kind of spiritual openness, they can lead to profound self-discovery.
It really invites you to think about how much our own experiences shape how we see the world, and how sometimes that quest for logical answers can lead you down a completely unexpected spiritual path.
His commitment, that unwavering effort to reconcile reason with revelation, it offers a compelling model, really, for anyone grappling with those big life questions.
And his journey really highlights that faith isn't always about abandoning your intellect. Sometimes, especially for a logical mind like his, it's about finding a framework that can actually integrate it.
Which brings us to a question for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. How do we as individuals keep engaging with and adapting our own beliefs, our understandings, in a world that's constantly changing? How do we ensure they stay relevant, fulfilling, without losing their essential core?